is actually going out live. So if you give me a moment, because I'm looking at my Restream account and I'm just getting, oh, here we go. Hello, and welcome to HughesRound with Graham Hughes. It is Tuesday, no, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday, I don't even know what day it is. It's Wednesday the 9th of December 2020. We just had Prime Minister's questions, and later Boris Johnson is going to fly on his knees all the way to Brussels to beg for a deal. If we don't get a deal, we are in what Jar Jar Binks would call deep doo-doo. Yeah, because we'll have no deal, and we'll have no trade deal in place with the European Union, 27 of the richest countries, some of the richest countries in the world, who live on our doorstep and have lots of affluent people living there who usually buy all our stuff. As a result of the threat of no deal, or even a wafer-thin deal, we've already seen a lot of car manufacturers are winding down production of certain models, certain cars. The big one yesterday was in Bridgend. Sir Jim Ratman, who owns the company that owns Land Rover, basically said that he was just going to make it in France. So they were moving production of the next generation Land Rover to France. From Wales to France because of Brexit. And you'll never guess who was a massive supporter of Brexit. Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Or Ratman, as I like to call him. Right, so I have some messages already. I have Alexander Campbell saying hi on YouTube, so I'm definitely going out on YouTube. That's good. Darren Christian is saying hi. Too Much 22 is 77, sorry. Sorry, my screen is really small down here. I'm going to get like my reading glasses on. So yeah, we just had Prime Minister's question time. Did anyone watch it? It was the usual stuff and nonsense that we get from Boris Johnson. He didn't answer a single question, and again, repeatedly attacked the leader of the opposition for not supporting him enough. And this is where you're like, what part of the words leader of the opposition are you having trouble with, mate? I mean, he is literally the leader of he's the leader of the opposition. He's supposed to oppose you. Why do you keep asking him why he won't support you? But the great one today was he was begging him, will you please support me? Support me. He's like almost crying at the dispatch box. Why won't you support me on this deal that I'm making with the EU? Excuse me, Boris Brexit dickhead Johnson. You do realise that you haven't got a deal yet. So what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to vote on a deal that we can't see. That may not even exist because of your terrible failure, in your own words, of statecraft. An absolute failure. I mean, that's going to be the name of Boris Johnson's biography, I think. Absolute failure, maybe catastrophic failure. He is the worst thing to happen to Britain since It's a Royal Knockout. That's how bad it's got. I just want to say hi to some of the people on here. Ineos is not Land Rover. Okay, Steve, what is it then? Sorry, I must have read that wrong. I thought they were stopping production of the next Land Rover that was supposed to be in Bridgend, and they've moved to France instead. I might be wrong. I don't know the difference between a Land Rover and a Range Rover. I don't know the difference between a Range Rover and a Rover. I don't know the difference between a Rover and a Moon Rover, or a Mars Rover, or a dog called Rover. I know nothing about this stuff, so, you know, enlighten me. I'm a chef, and fish is not that popular in the UK, says Roger King. I know. We export loads of it. We export loads of fish, and we import loads of fish. 90% of the cod that we eat in our fish and chip dinners from the chippy comes from abroad. It's from foreign waters. We don't have that many cod in our waters. PMQ is like a clown factory. Well, it's embarrassing. Land Rover is owned by Tata. Well, hang on, what's going on in Bridgend then, Steve? Enlighten me. I'm getting really confused here. Maybe it was Range Rover. I don't know the difference. Maybe it was Moon Rovers. PMQ, more like fish and bollocks, it is, isn't it? But it's frustrating that you have Keir Starmer asking these questions and Boris Johnson just goes off on one, and the speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, never, ever, ever says, answer the question. Answer the damn question, eh? Yeah, it just annoys me. It just annoys me. Right, so I'm going to make something I haven't done on this show before or any of my live shows. I'm going to make a phone call to a friend of mine. I hope he's not too busy to speak to me. He might be. Apparently he's waiting in his cab to get a job. So if he's got a job, this might just ring to answer machine, and then I won't speak to him. I think that's what it's going to do. Oh well, that was good while I was trying it, wasn't it? It was a good effort. No, I don't think he's answering. Oh God, that's so embarrassing. At least I haven't been red buttoned. Well, answer machine. Yeah, that's answer machine. Okay, well, I'll leave that. Maybe he'll call me back. I don't know. But yeah, too much. 2077 says Boris kept asking Starmer to approve a deal that hasn't been written yet. What bullshit. Well, exactly. I'm just noticing that all of my messages coming through at the moment are on YouTube. I don't have any messages coming through on Facebook. So if you're watching this on Facebook, can you just say hello in a message, just so I know that it's possible to see me on that? Oh, my streaming has gone off. Ah, it's come back on. Okay. Gremlins everywhere. I blame Brexit, as always, of course. So, next on Restream chat, we have, what do we got? Northern Ireland Protocol. Oh, wait, here we go. Jim Ratty is building a replica of the old Land Rover Defender, now to be built in an ex-Mercedes factory in France after welshing on the Bridgend folks. Ironically using the word Welsh there. Oh, okay. So it's like a historic thing of an old Land Rover. Okay, but Land Rover's owned by Tata. So I guess they're making the new ones and they're just making a historic version of it. But they're making it in France. This quintessential British machine going to be made in the EU by a man who left the United Kingdom last year or a couple of years ago to go and live in, where did he go and live? Monaco. That was nice. Leo Horstmeister says, hi from Facebook. Hi, yes, we have got Facebook online. We've also got Joe Walker, who's watching on Periscope, I think, saying hi. Oh, that's good. I'm going out on everything today. Chucksell saying, good afternoon all. This is from, I think that's Ilari. Here in the EU, we are wishing to make our final internet shopping from the UK before the year's end. It will get more complicated and expensive next year. Yeah. As I found out whenever I tried to send anything to Australia, or we tried to send anything from Australia to the UK when I had an Australian girlfriend and we lived in Orwell Park in Liverpool, it's an absolute nightmare, because it's not just the fact that you're paying a lot more for shipping because it's a lot further away. You also have to pay customs. You have to make a declaration of anything that you take in or out the country. You have to say what the value of that is, and there will be handling charges. And the handling charges are not a percentage. They are set, and they're usually like £7 or £8. And so if you are sending yourself something from another country, or sending your family something when you're abroad, there's a good chance that they'll have to pay at the other end to pick up what it is. And if it's something that is only worth less than a tenner, it makes it completely unviable as a business to have to do that, compared with other countries in the EU, which won't have to do that because they haven't been so stupid as to vote to leave the EU. James Dart says, what's your favourite example of inward investment as a result of Brexit, Graham? Well, inward investment, this is brilliant. So this is the idea that we don't need the investment that was coming into us from around the world. In fact, in 2017, the year after the referendum vote, the inward investment into the United Kingdom from abroad actually decreased by 90%. 90%. There were some other factors at play there, but I mean, why would you invest in a country that was leading this act of mass economic suicide? As Boris Johnson famously put it, F business. That's how he feels about it. That's how he feels about business. So the idea that we're going to generate our own money without having to bother other countries in the world to trade with them is absolutely bonkers, because I don't think that you make money that way. I don't know, because I'm not an economist and I haven't spent enough time in North Korea to say without, definitively if that's the best way of running things. But having just an internal market and just selling stuff to yourself is a bit difficult when the things that we want, like, I don't know, technology, phones, laptops, etc., all require raw materials that Britain doesn't have. We're going to have to buy things from other countries. We're going to have to buy bauxite to get aluminium. We're going to have to buy steel because the steel that we've got here is quite low quality. We're going to have to buy tantalite, Colombo tantalite, which is or coltan, I think it's called, the stuff that's in all mobile phones. It's rare earth mineral that only exists in a few places in the world. It's what all the fighting is about in Eastern Congo. Is all over coltan because it's in everyone's phone. Josie Smithers says, "Hi Graham, great to see you again." Hi Josie. Alexander Campbell says, "I had to pay an extra duties of £16 when receiving a painting from Mexico." There you go. From Oz to Oval Park, lucky girl. Yeah, she's back in Australia now though. Thank God Graham doesn't apply his power of Scouse whining to forming a band. The world is broken enough. I can't sing, mate. I can't sing. I can't play the guitar. I can play a bit of piano, but not by ear. So don't worry. I'm not going to form a band that whines all the time, singing things about yellow submarines and loving me do and octopus's gardens. It's not going to happen. You know, it's just whining, really, isn't it? I'm not whining anymore. I'm just getting to the point where I'm just saying, I told you so. I have no qualms about saying that. I've been saying this shit for the last 4 years, actually 4.5 years, and it's all down on record. It's all there on social media. I've been saying that this is going to happen, and it's happening. And so the idea that I should shut up now and take my medicine like a good boy, with all due respect, I can't say it. Can I swear on this? Who cares, really? You've got to be over 13, haven't you, to go on YouTube or Facebook? Is that right? I don't know. Jim Ratcliffe. A salesman who has now zero faith in his own product. Given he is moving vehicle production to France and is sunning himself in neighbouring Monaco. Too Much 77 says, given the option to work in a call centre or break your back in a field for the same shit money, what would you choose? I would definitely choose the call centre, although it would probably be more demoralising. There's a satisfaction in a good day's hard labour, but I wouldn't want to have to do it every day in the winter, freezing cold, 5 in the morning starts. Yeah, it doesn't sound like too much fun. Going through the polytunnels. The polytunnels of Britain are going to become the new mines of Britain, aren't they? We're going to go in the morning and come out in the evening. Never shut up, Graham. We need you for the mayor of Liverpool. What, does Joe Anderson need me? Quick, to the chippy. I love that someone called him the Lobster Pot One. They had a picture of Joe Anderson like this. And the caption said, "Free the Lobster Pot One," which is funny for anyone who comes from Liverpool, I guess. Too Much 7 seconds of point proven. Yeah, I don't want to do either, mate. I want to have my options open. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to work for the Greek Tourist Board if they want me over there to promote their latest airline things or ferry routes or whatever they want me to do. But I'm British now. I'm officially persona non grata in the EU because they can get someone from Ireland who's just as good looking and just as eloquent, and that it will cost them a lot less money because they won't have to pay for a work permit, which can be denied. See, I'm good, but I'm not that good. You've got to be sort of God tier, haven't you? You've got to be there's only like 50 actors, God tier actors who are working in Hollywood at the moment. There's only 50 in the world. That's it. They're the ones who can command, I'm going to work in this country and I don't care. I'm going to work in that country, I don't care. Everyone else is, we have to do what we're told, and any advantage that other people in the same position have is massive. It's absolutely massive. But things like this never really bother people like Boris Johnson because he lives in his own cloud cuckoo land of I don't know, just absolute scumbaggery. And I just think it's so bizarre that we have in the year 2020 such a regressive leader leading such a regressive party whose flagship policy is so regressive. It's just going back into the cave. It's like it's not devolution because that's something different, but it's de-evolution. It's devolving into lesser people than we were, a lesser country from a bygone age where protectionism seemed like a good idea. Protectionism might have been a good idea if there was still an empire or an East India Trading Company, but there isn't. If we go to the Commonwealth, there's 53 countries in the Commonwealth, so there's 52 apart from us. Like a pack of cards. like as many states as some people think are in America, when there's actually only 50. But with Puerto Rico and Washington DC, maybe there could be 52, and that'd be quite satisfying because it's hard to get 51 on the stars on the flag and make it look right. No, that's been done before. Don't forget there was only 48 states in World War II. So when World War II was fought, they were fighting under a flag of 48 stars, and then in the 50s they bought Alaska from the Russians, bizarrely, and they decided to make Hawaii a state. 50 states. Anyway, 52 other countries in the Commonwealth, and these are the people who are going to ride to our rescue, like the car companies, the German car companies. We can trade with the Commonwealth, and the sad fact is, of those 52 countries, there are 4 that are wealthy, like really wealthy. There's Canada, 40 million people. There's Australia, which is 25 million people. There is New Zealand, which is only about 7 million people. And there's India. Unfortunately, India, it is a wealthy country as a whole, but only because it has over 1 billion people living there. The actual GDP per person per hour breaks down to about £3.74. Sorry, a day, not an hour. So that's the GDP per person per day. It's about £3.74 for India. But to take those countries out of the equation, you've got 48 countries left. You put the GDP, and again, say this about Africa, say this about a lot of places in the world, put the GDP of all of the countries of the Commonwealth, apart from those, the top 4, so 48 countries all around the world. Big, small, in between. You put the GDP of all of them together, and it's less than the GDP of Britain on its own. Just Britain. Or France. Or Germany on its own. And this is where we are grasping at straws. And I did a little comedy sketch a couple of years ago where I was doing the Dragon's Den. I edited myself in so it looked like I was talking to the dragons and basically saying, I own a sweet shop, a sweet company, and we export sweets to, well, we sell sweets to our wealthy neighbours, but we want to tell them to F off and basically sell to poor people on the other side of the world that don't want sweets. And the dragons obviously said they were all out. Can anyone guess why? Can anyone guess why? Not me, that's for sure. Okay, so let's have a look what other messages I've got. Graham, without a swear or 10 is like the EU without GB. Okay, but something's missing. Okay, I don't know about the whole swearing thing because one of the things that it picks up on Facebook and on YouTube, I think automatically it sort of susses out what you've been talking about, and it can get flagged up if you swear, and it's just not worth getting flagged up. So it's difficult. But if the guy who I was calling would answer the bloody phone, then you know, we'll have some swearing because he swears every other word. Swears like a goddamn docker. What's that place in southern Spain called with the polytunnels? Doesn't everyone complain about it? I don't know.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can. How are you?
Good.
Yeah? This is Ciaran, the van driver. He's on the line. What are you up to at the moment, Ciaran?
I'm doing a local job. Nothing exciting today, I'm afraid. Got a job to Paris next week.
Job to Paris.
And then, taking some valuable equipment out before midday so the duties and tariffs can be avoided for a customer. And then I'm off to southern Poland on the 27th, and I'll be in Calais on the 31st of December to witness it all. Firsthand, I'll have a front row seat to the shit show that's going to unfold.
So you're going to actually be in Calais on the 31st of December?
Empty. I won't be carrying any commercial goods because I don't want to risk having to declare them at the border that nobody knows what's going to happen. So I'll have an empty stand.
There was a question asked today in Prime Minister's Question Time, Ciaran, about the 50,000 customs agents that we need in the case of a deal or a no-deal Brexit.
Yep.
And Boris Johnson characteristically avoided the question. Any ideas how many customs agents have actually been employed? Have you seen any new ones on your travels?
No, and I think it's probably about 1%. And I think they've gone to places like India and sort of Serbia and other far-flung places. the thing is, with customs agents, they're all private companies, and they have agreements with other countries on wherever you're delivering to.
Yeah.
So, if you collect your goods and you go and clear them in Dover, that agent will have a connection with another customs agent on another border where your goods are destined to end up. And if they don't, where do you clear your goods? You can't surrender them and you can't surrender your papers. So you're stuck.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and also, the most important thing, if you have a problem with your paperwork, and it's somebody in India that's handling it, you're stuck in a car park somewhere on a border, while some country is processing your paperwork, try and rectify what could be wrong with it when they should be delivered.
Oh shit! So hang on. The British government is outsourcing the work for the customs to India.
Yep.
Oh my God. That was one of the things that one of the Brexiteers said to me, was like, well, at least they're creating jobs in customs. And I'm like, okay, yeah, for other countries.
Absolutely. I'll give you one example. When you end up in Dover and you come from Switzerland, for instance, Switzerland or Norway is the only two countries really that you'll come from now, and sort of like in a van from doing a delivery, you surrender your papers in Dover. If you're unlucky enough to be sent on what's called Route 1F, or Route 1, your papers are sent to Manchester to be analysed. Your vehicle won't be checked, but your papers will be analysed to make sure they're correct. Your vehicle may be checked. But because you're parked up in Dover in a customs bonded car park, I may add, I hasten to add, only 500 trucks available. Ignore the Ashford truck stop, that's got no customs facility.
How many spaces available, Ciaran? Sorry, you cut out there.
500 out of 12,000 trucks a day in and out. 500
There's
spaces.
500 spaces and you need 12,000.
Yeah, and a Route 1 security clearance can take 20 hours, 24 hours. So you'll expect to have one truck taking up space for a day at best. So, and in Switzerland, 20% of declarations can be incorrect. So if you work out 20% of 12,000, it's more than enough to take up every space, and the ferries will stop running, nothing will move, no pharmaceuticals will get through, and I'll tell you why they won't get through. Because one of my friends does farmer work in vans all over Europe, and he, at last no deal in, I think it was March, he only got so far down in towards the port and then couldn't move because it was just clogged and gridlocked, and he got stuck for about 10 hours. So I think we have every reason to be afraid.
Oh my God, so I was talking yesterday about the big food shortages, medicine shortages and fuel shortages as a result of Brexit. This is from what I've read or ascertained. You're there on the front line. Is that going to be the case? Deal or no deal?
Oh, this is important. At the moment, on the Latvian-Russian border, today at 46 hours and 600 trucks parked to cross from a third country into the European Union.
46 hours at the border.
Today, this morning, 8 o'clock this morning, 46 hours. It was 30 hours yesterday. It's going up and up and up. And that's 600 trucks.
So that's Russia coming into, Latvia or Lithuania, was it?
No, that's Russia into the... So you're on the external border.
Yeah, into the EU.
Yeah, so you can go down as far as Turkey into Bulgaria on the border there, or you can go from the Ukraine into Poland. You can go from the Ukraine into Romania. All these main transit routes, which see sort of fairly high levels of commercial traffic, regularly experience delays for a few days just to cross over.
It's going to be catastrophic. And one of the things someone said was about, we used to have customs and it wasn't that much of a problem. But hasn't the volume of stuff coming in and out of the country just risen exponentially since 1992?
Yeah, 93. From 93, I think there was 1.3 million trucks a year crossing from Dover. And I think last year there was 2.7 or 2.8 million. So it's more than doubled the amount of commercial journeys that are made. Now, that's only trucks, that's not vans. What I do in vans supply the production lines. They feed production lines with urgent goods from Europe to the UK to come off the van straight onto a production line. Yeah. So you might have a pick up a 10-kilo piece for a machine that's broken, and you'll collect it in Germany and in Munich, and it has to be in Dagenham the next morning. So it's a non-stop drive, and it's dedicated, and that production line can only operate if you have the freedom of movement of yourself and the goods. And once you disrupt that and break that chain, then the so-called just-in-time logistics supply chain will break down and won't exist. Which is why in Switzerland and Norway you don't see car production plants. Because in Switzerland, customs closes at 5:30 in the evening, it's shut at weekends, it doesn't open until the next morning.
Oh, wow.
So, well, this is the thing. It's a Friday, and you're collecting goods on a Friday from Switzerland, and they're coming to the UK, and it's 4 o'clock. You can only leave via one designated border point where your customs agent will be, which takes me back to what I was telling you in the beginning about customs agents. So you might be halfway in the middle of Switzerland. You don't have a choice of where you exit to go back to look for the fastest route. You have to go out because it's via Basel. You go via Basel. Now, if you get to Basel at 5 o'clock in the evening on a Friday, and there's a problem with your papers, and the agent's closing at 5:30, you're stuck there till Monday morning, and you're not allowed to leave, when your goods should be in the UK the next day.
Oh my God. Okay, so that I thought the reason why Switzerland didn't really go into car manufacturers because they all live up mountains, and I'm guessing it's difficult to make a car on a slope, but it's obviously a bit more complicated than that.
The thing is, if you look at where Switzerland is and it's landlocked, it's ideally placed.
Yeah.
Sort of like the Ineos dude who's moving his production from Bridgend out to the French-German border to the old Daimler factory.
Yeah, we were just talking about that because I heard it was a Land Rover, and but Land Rover is owned by Tata, and I'm like, oh, okay, but apparently it's like a remake of a classic model of Land Rover, this quintessentially British car or vehicle, I should say, and they're moving it to France.
Well, I don't know much about the car, but all I can tell you is once you lose the freedom of movement of the components and the parts that may predominantly coming from the European Union to be assembled in the UK, like they do at Mini and Nissan, mainly, and Rolls-Royce, once you have the ability to be able to bring those parts in unfettered, then your production lines just simply won't run. You cannot store the parts. They rely on a certain budget every year to be able to that work out, to have them put onto vehicles and transported to the UK off the van onto the production line. So you'll go to Vauxhall in Luton, where the Vivaro is made, and your parts will come off. You might get a pallet of air filters from Caen in France, for instance, and they'll come off the van straight onto the production line, and they'll go straight onto the vehicles. They don't go into a warehouse where they sit for 2 weeks. They might use them. They're straight off and on. And that's why car production in the UK will cease to exist, regardless if we get a so-called deal or no deal.
But this was warned about by that famous whining Remainer called Sir Patrick Minford, who was he headed up the Economists for Brexit. In 2012, he said that you would have to run down the British car industry like we ran down the coal and the steel industries.
Well, he was right.
Yeah.
It will run down.
Bloody Remoaners.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's, even if we get a deal, you'll need customs. Even if you ended up with a Switzerland-style commercial goods border, you'll need customs.
Yeah.
Norway, customs. Now, it's about the flow of traffic, and it's about how many vehicles pass over a certain border. Now, because we're an island, you've got a 90-minute crossing from Calais to Dover is the quickest way to get in. If you go from the Hook of Holland to Paris, 7-8 hours on a boat, and the boats are so infrequent, they might only run 2 a day. So you've got that flexibility of how your goods can be moved around. It goes, some people say, why don't you air freight it? You still have to get the goods from a factory to an airport, onto a plane, out of the airport, onto a van and delivered. And it's too infrequent, it's very expensive, and it wouldn't work. So the way we operate in the UK there's no other alternative to do it. And when you look at all the ports at the moment, especially Felixstowe, container ports that they're championing, saying it's the way forwards, nothing's coming in. It's all stuck. It's all stuck because they can't cope. And they can't even cope, even though the formalities were completed while the goods were in transit on a boat from halfway around the world. And they still can't cope. So
Ciaran, I'm getting questions in as you're speaking. John B. Craddock wants to know, what about the large container ports like Felixstowe and stuff?
I'm not big on container ports. I will be honest with you. I just do dedicated stuff. I dig deep out of the ground stuff and get things from A to B super quick. Yeah. Which will a matter of weeks.
Do you know who's good on container ports? Steve Gavin from Liverpool for Europe, because he works at the Port of Liverpool.
Chris Grayson. He runs Felixstowe, and it's going really well at the moment.
I heard boats are turning around at Felixstowe. They're not stopping. They're going to Rotterdam instead.
Funny you should say that. I collected a load of flag for somebody who we know, and they came in from China to Felixstowe. Did you know the boat actually diverted? Didn't go to Felixstowe. It went to Liverpool.
Right.
It ended up in Liverpool.
Wow.
And the goods were delayed by over a month.
A month from Felixstowe because they had to move to Liverpool instead of Felixstowe.
They went to Liverpool instead. Yeah, I take it because the thing is with boats won't sail if they're not full. They won't go dock at a certain port if there's no space. Well, if there's nowhere to put containers, they'll go to another port. Now,
that's because they burn like 1 million tons of fuel every hour, isn't it? I mean, they're not going to go anywhere unless it's worthwhile.
Well, no, of course, but they were delayed. Essentially, the goods were delayed by a month. Now you've got great container ports are good if you've got white goods or if you've got bulk stuff going into a shop that's non-perishable, and you're stocking up a warehouse and you order it and you expect to wait for a month. And then it gets boxed up and it goes into a shop or what have you. But the things that go into trucks and vans that cross on a 90-minute crossing and go from A to B super quick, so we can have things on our supermarket shelves.
Yeah.
The salads from the Netherlands and the oranges from the greenhouses down in Almeria in Spain that are double manned over 1,500 miles in two and a half days to get to the UK. So you can have your food. It doesn't drop from the sky. It's driven, it's driven non-stop, so we can have all of these things. Yeah. And if you end up with, I honestly can't tell you. I honestly can't think what it's going to look like in Calais or Dover, because some of the Brexit supporting lunatics have said, it'd be much easier to get things in and get things out, which may be the case. But because we're an island and you're at the full mercy of the ferries and the trains.
And also the weather, Ciaran. If those of you tuning in at the moment, I'm actually speaking to Ciaran The Van Driver, who was name-checked this morning on James O'Brien, as he often is. Because Ciaran, you mentioned in the very first episode of the Three Blokes in the Pub that we did, you mentioned about the bloody pallets, didn't you? The problem with pallets.
Well, not just pallets. Anything to do with crates. So if you're into fine art, sculptures, anything that needs to be crated, you'll send it from an auction house in London and it returns to America. So one of my customers, that's their job. They crate things, and what they have to do to send things to America, let's not forget that the crate is disposable. It's only there for the transit of the goods to make sure they don't get broken.
Yeah.
But what the Americans want, they want certain wood that's been heat treated, and they want a certificate, and you spend half a day sending paperwork over to make sure that crate, the wood, meets the requirements to be received in the USA. If it doesn't, the goods get rejected and sent back. It's like watching Border Force Australia when people from Central Asia bring in funky insects and food, and you could destroy the entire food, supply chain in the ecosystem of the country. So anything can live in wood. Now, like so-called funky trade deals around the world, and we end up with weird pallets that don't meet the regulations of the European Union and don't have certain heat-treated stamps, we can't use those pallets. And of course, everything is sent out on pallets, everything is sent out in crates. It has to have a heat stamp on it. There's actually a shortage of Euro pallets at the moment. We have pallets that are 100 by 120 because I'm a bit of a geek, and the Euros are 80 by 120s, and you can't buy them anymore. They've really, really gone up in price. And that's just to send your goods. You'll never see that pallet again, but without the pallet...
You can't get the goods.
Well, you can't, because they're forked on and off.
Oh, my God.
You can't handle a pallet of car parts or something else onto a lorry and expect it to turn up in one piece. It won't. It has to be shrink wrapped and palletised.
Ciaran, what do you think the difference is going to be if Boris Johnson gets this wafer thin deal tonight? He's having a meeting with Ursula von der Leyen, or no deal. I mean, is it going to be that much of a difference between them? Is one going to be catastrophic and the other one not as catastrophic, or how do you see it?
I can only speak of it from my own perspective. It's one thing I've only ever done since I've highlighted customs. I try and speak about something I know about. Now, a no deal, we lose access to everything. Absolutely everything. We'll be treated literally like a border going from Zimbabwe to Mozambique. Look, I think even the French...
I've crossed that border.
Well, the Bumbo border. Now, I've actually sent cars. I export cars for a friend in Mozambique. They're coming via South Africa. And I'll tell you what, it's an absolute nightmare trying to get a vehicle out of the UK. If the ferry isn't full, the cars don't sail when you've got to take them back. They can only turn up at a port at a certain time. They get to South Africa. They then disagree about the valuation. They won't release them unless you pay extra money and duties, which is often the case, even though it's free in the UK. And of course, the Bumbo border from Mozambique into Zimbabwe can take you days to cross. Now,
I know.
Exactly. You might look at it and it's like, the only difference is we've got more modern cars, we've got tarmac roads and newer trucks, but the principle of the border essentially works the same. Yeah. And I personally think, they're not an island. It's on land. We're at the full mercy of the trains and the ferries. Did you know that a Eurotunnel train, a passenger train, has a 12-minute turnaround? From when it comes in to leaves, the people that run the train have got to get the cars on and off within 12 minutes. Wow. And on the train, I think it's half an hour to 35 minutes from when they unload to load, and it leaves again is 35 minutes. That's how time frames work to run these services. So everything runs smoothly, or as smooth as it can do. And at the moment, there's been reported there's delays of 6-10 hours just to get on a ferry because of the sheer amount of traffic coming in at the moment. People obviously stockpiling.
Jesus Christ. So, Ciaran, what? Just talk about you personally. What's your plans then next year? I mean, you are the Euro courier. Your job is going in and out of Europe with stuff all the time. What are you going to do?
I'll tell you what. There's one thing I will do now. I can do London to Paris in 8 hours. 7-8 hours. I do it non-stop. And if it takes me 2 days, and I have to spend 10-15 hours sitting at the side of a motorway trying to get in to collect my customs paperwork, I'll give up. I won't do it.
You won't do it? You don't fancy having to shit in a bag and chuck it over the other side of the hard shoulder on the M20, no?
No, I was trying my hardest not to swear on your very respectful programme. Right?
It's not very well respected. It's just it's to do with the algorithms.
I think it's a fucking clusterfuck.
I told you he'll swear.
Right. I'll tell you something. There'll be people. Kent will never have seen so many plastic bags full of feces in all his life, which is why it's going to be the toilet of England. And I'll tell you something. Would you want to go into a Portaloo with the virus at the moment and dump your cheeks on a seat? Where you don't know who's been there before you? No, thank you. I'll go and I'll go and have a number 2 in the back of my cab, dump it in a bag, and throw it into the hedge so it can hang from a tree. And that's,
Excellent. I think there's going to be a lot of truck drivers who agree with you there, Ciaran. And the Garden of England, Kent, is going to rapidly become the toilets of England.
I reckon we're going to name Portaloos after Conservative MPs, and I vote to nominate the first one to be called the Jacob Rees-Bog.
Jacob Rees-Bog.
The Jacob And
so what?
Yeah.
But what are you going to do then if you're not going to be doing if you're not going to be carrying stuff around Europe? I mean, what are your options at the moment?
I've known what's coming for 4 years. I've already got a customs agent. I've always had one, and they've said they'll do my. The problem is, you can be as prepared as you want, and I'll be prepared for just how long it's going to take. Papers get in and out, and it's a real headache. And I'll be honest, I'm sort of in limbo, and I've not thought about what I'm going to do. I'll either make a lot of money doing it, but I'll never be at home because I'll always be stuck in a queue somewhere, and I don't want to do it.
Well, no, I mean, why would anyone want to change their life in such a major way and just make their life more expensive and inconvenient than it used to be? It just, like I say, it just seems like a regression. It just seems like we're de-evolving as a country.
Of course. I mean, look, if I charge 1,200 quid to go to Paris and back, you're going to be doubling it. You're going to be doubling your cost. And the reality is, if your customer in the UK will sell something to Europe, a lot of things cannot travel on trucks. You know, they'll either lose the sale completely, and they're just, T-shirts for the merchandising, T-shirts, mugs, anything like that, printed at the in the UK, goes straight out to be in Paris or Munich the next day for a band that's touring, that's running low or needs it, printed at the last minute. That's finished. That's one. He was stuck on the Swiss border for 24 hours with Ed Sheeran merchandise for no reason whatsoever. They gave him no reason, and he was there for 24 hours. I've had it. I mean, the day of an exhibition, I was in Basel and Dover arguing the toss over what my the equipment, a DNA machine, was worth. And even though it wasn't the real thing, they didn't want to see it as the real thing. They thought it was worth more, and I was in Dover for 9 hours when I could have been halfway to Switzerland. It's the reality of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that businesses in the European Union will end up sourcing their stuff in the European Union and bypassing the UK completely. I think that's what's going to happen, which is incredibly sad. So I've noticed the level of work is non-existent. Everyone I know that does the job. I mean, not just the virus that's made things quieter. You know, the level of work isn't there. It really isn't.
Right.
I really don't know.
Oh, what a nightmare. What an absolute nightmare. Listen, I've got a message here from, where is it? I've lost it. Asking about your health, because obviously you had an operation over the summer. How are you feeling now? Oh, Ciaran? Oh, I lost him. Maybe he's hung up on me. Ciaran, come back. I didn't mean it. The joy of live. Who was it who sent that message about Ciaran? Oh, that was from Darren. Thanks, Darren, for your concern. Ciaran, if you can still hear me, because the phone call's still connected, I can't hear you. I don't know what's happened to your Bluetooth there. But Ciaran was actually driving there. Sorry about the quality of the audio, but that's just coming through on the phone over air to my mic. So well, there you have it. Listen, we're talking about just a quick bit of shopkeeping with setting these up. I've only started this week. I've never done multi-platform streaming before, and there's a few things that I've got to suss out to get it all right and working and prepped for in advance. So just bear with me this week, and next week everything should run smoothly, or a little bit smoother, I should think. No, we're definitely not getting any more sound from Ciaran. Maybe he thinks he's still talking to me. He's probably talking and I'm not actually hearing what he's saying. I'll just try and call him back because I don't want to be rude. on the radio where they say you've got a bad line. I'm gonna turn you off. The job as shit shoveler will soon be advertised in areas of Kent. Oh my God, we're really making these great new jobs, aren't we, for people? Jay Walton saying, I can picture all that sovereignty hanging from a bush. No, I think Ciaran's gone into a tunnel. But we were just asking about his health. Ciaran's had a huge problem with what's it called? When your insides kind of split into you. I've forgotten the word for it now. It's incredibly painful, and he had an operation on it over the summer, which hopefully a hernia. He had a hernia, a severe one. He had an operation on it over the summer. I don't think he's yet 100%, but he's obviously feeling a little bit more cheerful. No, not so much as when he's telling us the absolute dire consequences of what we're doing with this absolutely idiotic, suicidally idiotic Brexit. So as I was saying before, I called Ciaran, 48 countries of the Commonwealth, 53 only have the same GDP put together as the UK. There's only about 200 countries in the entire world. So the idea that we're going to ignore the very rich ones that exist near us is not just a crime against business and the economy and decency and common sense. It's also a crime against geography. Oh, Ciaran is calling back. Hello, Ciaran. Hi. Sorry, we lost you.
Your battery died.
Your battery died?
No, did yours die?
No. I was still connected, mate. I was still connected going, hello. It's all right. Oh. It's not like there's loads of people watching us.
Yeah. Anyway, what was we talking about?
I was just asking about your health, because obviously you had the hernia and you had the operation over the summer, and we've got a few people here writing concerned about you, wants to know you're all right.
Okay, I was quite ill, but it wasn't very pleasant. I wouldn't want anyone. I wouldn't even want my worst enemy to have what I had.
Really? Not even Jacob Rees-Mogg?
No, I wouldn't.
A little bit?
No.
Oh well, you're a better man than me.
I'd love to pour a massive tub of boiling hot turtle over his head from a great height. But, I wouldn't wish anybody an emergency operation in the middle of a pandemic. It's not much fun.
No.
So, yeah. You were about to ask me a question before we got cut off.
I was just going to be, I wanted to ask a little bit more about sort of what the options are for people sort of in the same boat as you. So I've asked what you'll probably do next year. What about other people in the same industry who you talk to? Are the Brexiteers who are driving trucks going, this is going to be great, I can't wait to wait 20 hours in a queue in Kent and have to shit into a plastic bag? I mean...
Well, funnily enough, they've all gone a bit quiet, and they're not being as loud as they used to be, especially the ones that work for themselves, like me, and a few of them that deliver F1 parts for the Formula One. You couldn't make it up. So they've all gone a bit quiet, and have now acknowledged there might be some pain. I personally think it'll be about as painful as having 1 million pins stabbed into your eyelids.
Oh, okay, so not that painful then.
Wait. Listen, it's also they could. I've always seen it. So they could wave a little tiny A4 Union Jack flag and eat a pork pie in a street with some bunting and a crappy plastic tablecloth, celebrating something that they haven't got a clue about. It's island mentality.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen is when they start to see less choice on the shelves in the supermarkets and things not turning up, just things disappearing. It's like going to a supermarket and the supermarket shelf is rearranged and you can't make out what used to be there, but you know that something was. You can't remember what it was. And you realise you're greeted with less choice
than
what you once had. And then they'll come to realise there just won't be as much choice. And the sad thing is a lot of people, working class backgrounds, I'm working class, but they're the ones that, up until Donald Trump disappeared, would have been force-fed chlorinated chicken and all sorts of shit in cans, because they wouldn't be able to afford to buy anything anymore because the prices are going to rise. It only takes, you start adding up a shopping trolley and putting 20p on everything. It's a bag of shopping costs 50 quid.
Yeah, I think 20p extra on everything. And the thing is, with the tariffs that are going to have to be paid, I mean, we're talking about the logistics here. We're talking about actually physically getting the goods from one country to another. But then there's the WTO tariffs that are going to be slapped on absolutely everything. And I just don't know what people are thinking. And they don't seem to understand what a tariff is. They think that we're going to make more money somehow because we're charging more to sell our stuff, when there's other countries in the world that make exactly the same things that won't have to put that tariff on. And in any case, the tariff, if we're selling something to another country, it doesn't come to us. It goes to the government of the country it's going to.
Exactly. So we're going to end up paying more for things. We're not going to be able to travel. Can you imagine? You want to go to Bruges for the weekend.
Yeah.
And you stop asked by a French customs official in Calais to prove how much money you've got in your bank account. It happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I went to New Zealand, they kept me there for 8 hours, asking me how I was going to fund my trip, how long I was going for, and they physically checked how much money I had in the bank.
Wow, in New Zealand?
In New Zealand,
oh, they're always really friendly to me in New Zealand. I often had a rough time getting into Australia. You've just had this sort of 24-hour flight, well, two flights over 24 hours, and you finally arrive in Australia completely discombobulated, like in the absolute opposite time zone. It's day when it should be night, it's night when it should be day, and you're getting asked 20 questions about what do you do, how much money you got in your bank account, what's your inside leg measurement, what's your mother's maiden name, and all this kind of stuff. And honestly, at 7 o'clock in the morning in someone else's time zone, it's like, I really, really don't need this.
No, I had it in New Zealand. Only the once I had it.
Yeah.
5 times, because I'm one of those liberal elite people that, in a professional job with lots of money, and I sneer at working class British people that aren't very well educated. I don't really. I do. I feel sorry, but I pity them. And the thing is, they realise they're wrong. They realise they've stood in a big pile of shit, but they're so embarrassed that they don't wipe it off.
Yeah.
Being told this morning on Twitter that I talk nonsense by some retired Brexit person, and I just said, look at my timeline, I think everything I've said is actually true.
Yeah.
And they refuse to listen. There's no helping these people. And, on the BBC the other night, they were actually interviewing fishermen, and one of them looked about as clever as a bucket of paint, saying how much he was looking forward to a no deal. And it just made me remember when I was in Iceland, I was eating cod's head, and I thought, he probably had more brain cells in it than him. And they're catching fish to sell it to Europe, but when they're going to have tariffs, they just won't buy it anymore, so they won't catch anything and they'll be poor.
Yeah, the fish will go off, and we've got nowhere to store this stuff. Someone said on the comments here, that just in time was just factory owners being stingy and not paying for storage space. But the thing is, we don't have the storage space. We're a small island with a lot of people on it. And the idea that we're going to store all this stuff in order to build things in 6, 7, 8 months' time, when everywhere else in Europe is running on just-in-time deliveries, we're stuffed. I mean, it's just the way it is. And the idea that we can just will the rest of the world, the EU out of existence. And one of the big things that I don't think gets mentioned enough is that we are, this is a line from Femi actually, he said, we are turning our biggest trading partners into our biggest trading rivals. And if that's not bad enough, their economy is 7 times bigger than us. Their population is 7 times bigger than us.
Yeah, but we're Great Britain. Wave an A4 Union Jack flag and eat a pork pie and say up explain all the difference. I mean, if you speak to a lot of these people, most of them have never even driven into Belgium and Germany. You know, it's really sad that it's so close. It takes 6 hours to drive to Cologne. It's not far. You know, it can take you longer to drive down to Penzance from London than it can to drive over to Europe. I mean, even in the summer, when it's a nice hot day, I go and jump on the Eurostar with the missus and with my son, and we go and sit on the beach in Calais because it's closer and it's got free parking. You try driving to Bournemouth, right, and parking anywhere near a beach in the summer. It would take you 5 hours to drive down. You can't park. The beach is packed, and you come home. You haven't done anything. You can drive to Calais. It's 35 minutes on a train.
Yeah.
You're in Calais. You can have some French lunch, sit on a nice, massive, long, sandy beach, and park on it, and then come home.
Kieran, can I ask, so what's happening, because I've read a few things about this which have been conflicting, so I'm not sure what to think, but what's happening with the old booze cruises? Are we going to be restricted to literally 2 bottles of wine and 5 packs of cigarettes?
Yes. So, this is the thing this also didn't make any sense, right? I can fill up my entire van with alcohol, as long as I'm not selling it, or I'm not doing anything for commercial purposes. So if you've got a wedding, right, you can go and drive over to a place called Hidou, which is just one junction up from Calais, and go and buy alcohol in there at like a third of the price of what it costs in the UK. They pay for your Eurostar ticket if you spend 200 quid. I think it's 200 quid, right? So you got a free crossing. You've had a day out. You can go and have something to eat. You can go and buy all your alcohol and buy as much as you want and bring it back. When we leave, I think they're allowed, is it 5 litres of wine?
5 litres of wine.
2 litres, I can't remember the exact numbers. I'm sure somebody will pick me apart on it.
But it's going to be limited, isn't it? It's going to be limited. You can't just go and fill your car up anymore and come back.
No. That's finished. That's finished. You know, when you go, it's funny, because when you go up to Scandinavia, and I used to get the boat over from Hirtshals to Larvik in Norway, you used to get the Norwegians going to Denmark on the boat to buy their alcohol because it was cheaper, even though Denmark is like stupidly expensive. Yeah. And then you've got the Danes on the German border that will drive it to Germany
because it's cheaper. I've done that. I've been on the ship. I've been on the ship from Denmark to Germany. On a booze cruise, go and get more alcohol. Actually, if you get the boat over from Finland to, well, in my case, I got it from Sweden into Finland. Everyone on board's drunk. I mean, it's just insane. Everyone, they get a cabin and they fill the entire cabin up with booze, drink half of it on the way back. But yeah, so those days are going to be long gone. So, Ciaran, I'm going to have to wrap it up there, mate, because it's 2 o'clock.
I lost you there for a sec.
I'm just saying I've got to wrap it up now because it's 2 o'clock. But thank you so much for joining me. Let's do this again sometime, possibly with better sound.
No. Do you know what we're going to have to do?
What? Go to the pub.
On the 31st of December, when I'm in Calais, we'll have to work out a way to do a live stream so you can have a first row seat for the shit show that is coming our way. And I'll be in it.
Excellent. Okay, well, if you're up for that, get your phone charged up, right? And use the camera on your phone and we'll suss out a way of integrating that into this show.
There is one problem.
What's that?
After midnight, if our roaming ends, I will do a crowdfunder for my roaming charges because I'll tell you now, before the European Union rolled out the free roaming in Europe, my phone bills used to be £500 a month. Yeah. We're only going back about 4 years.
I know it was about May 2017 when they brought in the new roaming rules, and I travelled around in the summer, and I've got the text messages on my phone because I kept them all from my provider for how much it was for each country I went to. It was £5 in non-EU countries per megabyte.
Well, can you imagine being a Brexiter and going to Benidorm, and not switch. The only way you can share the highlights of your drunken antics on a Benidorm holiday is from your hotel room via Wi-Fi, because you can't switch your phone on.
Yeah.
Because, when I was in Kazakhstan, I switched my phone on. I kid you not. He says, "Congratulations, you've spent £70 because all your live apps are on the phone picking things up."
Yeah. Working in the background.
Yeah, I switched up. I couldn't even have my phone on. I couldn't have it on receive a voicemail, a text message. I had to switch the phone off.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ciaran, next time I go to Africa or Central America, they always sell phones there that you can break open the back of and take 2 SIM cards. So you'll be able to have a French SIM card and a British SIM card.
Absolutely.
That's what you're going to have to do. Yes, because Britain is about to launch head on into its mission, its flagship policy of the Conservative Party to turn Britain into a third world country. So we're getting quite close, aren't we? Only a few weeks left of being a developed nation. So, but yeah, Ciaran, I'll try and talk to you before Christmas. But if I don't, thank you so much for talking to us. You take care, okay?
Yeah, no worries, mate. Take care.
All right, see you, Ciaran. Bye. Okay, and that was Ciaran the Van Driver, who accompanied us on the very first Three Blokes in the Pub. He's really hard to nail down. As you heard there, the audio wasn't great because he's actually driving at the moment. I would have preferred to set it up as some kind of video link, but I'm like, "Can you be on the show today? You've just been mentioned on James O'Brien." He said, I'm driving, Graham. I'll have to be on Bluetooth." I'm like, "Okay, well, we'll make it work." So I hope you could make out most of that. Alexander Morgan finally caught the new live stream, has been catching up after work every night. Graham Hughes, keep up the good work. Okay, so tomorrow I'm going to make a concerted effort to make sure that links go out on Twitter, on Facebook, on Periscope, that is Twitter, Graham, YouTube, everything else, so that you know that it's going to start at 1 o'clock and you have a link to follow. So I'm going to suss that out. That's my job for tomorrow morning before I start. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for all of your messages. Damien there saying that Ciaran is absolutely brilliant. It's Ciaran with a C, just so you know. If only the Remain campaign had told us Brexit would be the end of the booze cruise. Too much trade zone. We did! Well, no, I was not in charge of the Remain campaign. It was led by David Cameron, which, if you want your campaign to lose, it's a really good way to go about it. Anyway, so until then, smash the like, says Jim Bob. And in the words of a different Jim Bob, I'll say hello.